I woke up and found myself reincarnated with the damn campus bell. In our previous life, the two of us clashed constantly throughout all 4 years of university. And yet, right after graduation, we were arranged to be married by our families. On the very night of our wedding, I made a pact with Tang Yuren. We only needed to act like a loving couple in front of our parents, just enough to maintain the appearance of intimacy. Everything else in life was to remain completely separate. I felt nothing for Tang Yuren. I never bothered to interfere with or even understand her circle. Tang Yuren also never asked about anything I did, no matter how late I came home. Even if I didn't return at all for the night, she never said a word or asked a single question. I had always believed Tang Yuren, like me, had only agreed to the marriage because of pressure from our parents. That she too was merely fulfilling her duty by marrying me. Until the day I suddenly died of illness. Tang Yuren rushed to the hospital like a madwoman. He knelt in front of the doctor, desperately begging, "Doctor, I beg you, please save him. As long as you can bring him back to life, I'll trade my own life for his if I have to." In that moment, I stood by the window as his soul, watching this heart-wrenching scene unfold before me. Again and again, I tried to wrap my arms around him, but each time, my hands passed straight through his body. I kept whispering to comfort him, but not a single word reached his ears. He just went on pleading, desperately and endlessly, until the intensity of his emotions caused him to faint. Tang Yuren held my black and white photo, lost in memories. His eyes filled with grief as he stared at the man in the picture. He gently brushed his fingers across my face, skimming inch by inch all the way to the edge of the frame. Full of deep longing and sorrow, he casually picked up a bottle of sleeping pills, ready to end the pain that came with remembering me. Our close friend Jin Shaoxiao snatched the pills from Tang Yuren's hand, snatched them away without hesitation. "Yuren, it's been for years. He's already gone." Hearing those words, Tang Yuren's face turned deathly pale. Even his breath seemed to pause for a moment. "Yes, he's dead. Gone for 4 years now." Tang Yuren's voice carried a tragic weight. His expression was filled with unbearable sorrow as I watched from the spirit realm. I saw every moment of that scene. Jin Shaoxiao gave Tang Yuren a hug. She patted his back gently and comforted him by saying, "Tomorrow is his memorial service. Say a final goodbye to him. Let go of the past." Tang Yuren nodded silently. "It's time I let him go. He's been dragging himself through life for long years because of me." That evening, Tang Yuren prepared a full table of dishes, an impressively rich spread. He picked up a piece of braised chicken and placed it in the bowl across from him. Then he started talking to himself out of habit. "Zhang Xiechi, these are all your favorite dishes. You don't know. Before marrying you, I didn't even know how to cook. It was for you that I pushed myself to learn, even though it nearly bled me dry." Tang Yuren stretched out his hand, revealing the scar from a knife wound. He pouted, looking a bit aggrieved. "I was so clumsy. I cut my fingers several times. But still, every time I saw you eating my food, devouring it with such enjoyment, I felt like it was all worth it." It wasn't until after I died that I realized all those dishes were made by Tang Yuren himself. I still remember the first time I tasted them. I thought they were especially delicious. I had assumed he hired a housekeeper to make them. But it wasn't just that. Whenever I was drunk, he would take care of me. All the clothes I wore had been ironed by his own hands. He would even kiss me secretly while I slept, quietly, tenderly, always watching over me. And yet, I never noticed any of it. I kept turning a blind eye to him again and again. Tang Yuren placed another piece of poached fish into my bowl, then said softly, "This is the last meal I'll ever cook for you. Tomorrow, after I send you off, after paying my respects, I'll forget everything that ever belonged to you. Maybe that's for the best." I sighed. Though Tang Yuren was already in his 30s, he still possessed a graceful charm, a mature beauty. There was no reason for him to stay trapped in sorrow over someone like me, already dead. He deserves a brand new life. He should have his own future ahead of him. The next day, Tang Yuren, wore pure white wedding dress and went to the cemetery. She stood before my grave. Tang Yuren looked beautiful today. Her long hair was curled into soft waves. Her face was delicately made up with gold tones. That makeup paired with her wedding dress made her look like a goddess descending from the heavens. I had always known that Tang Yuren was beautiful, but I had never taken the time to really notice her. Even on our wedding day, all I could think about was brushing Liu Chen off and getting the whole thing over with. I never paid her much attention. Whether she looked good or not didn't matter to me. Tang Yuren smiled gently at the tombstone. So beautiful, I couldn't take my eyes off her. Look at me, don't I seem like a fool? You would never care if I was beautiful or not. Every word she spoke was laced with bitterness. Tang Yuren placed the bouquet in front of the tombstone. She looked at the name Zhang Xieqi carved into the stone, and memories surged up from the depths. A sharp pain pierced her heart. Zhang Xieqi, do you miss me? Because I miss you so much. I rested my hand on her head. Sorry, even though she couldn't feel it. I still couldn't help myself from doing it. You wouldn't miss me. How could you possibly miss me? A bitter smile crept onto Tang Yuren's face. But I miss you. As she kept speaking, her tears rolled down one after another like beads, falling endlessly from her eyes. It's strange when I think about it. Even though you're gone, it still feels like you're always by my side. You're gently stroking my hair. Hearing her say that, my hand paused in her hair, my heart heavy with sorrow. Zhang Xieqi, I once thought about ending it all, but I couldn't die. My mother wouldn't be able to take it. If not for her, she wouldn't still be ignoring me after all this time. I'll be moving away in a few days, leaving this city and never returning again. So before I go, I wanted you to have one last look at me in a wedding dress. This sight is only for you. I will never wear a wedding dress for anyone else ever again. As she said this, Tang Yuren waved at my tombstone. Zhang Xieqi, I'm going now. Goodbye. She reluctantly turned her gaze away. She stood there for a while before finally turning to leave. I stood at the grave and didn't follow her. I just watched as she walked away from me. Tang Yuren had just reached the roadside when she suddenly remembered the wedding ring on her finger. She wanted to return the ring to me and forget everything that had to do with me. Just as she was about to remove it, the ring slipped from between her fingers and rolled onto the road, right into the center. My ring! Tang Yuren rushed after it. That ring was the one I had personally put on her finger on our wedding day, and she had never taken it off since. Not even once. But at that moment, a heavy truck suddenly came barreling forward, speeding down the road without warning. Yuren, get out of the way. I rushed toward her in a panic, shouting as loudly as I could. Then came a deafening crash. The truck slammed into her. I watched helplessly as Tang Yuren was thrown into the air, her body tracing an arc in the sky. Like a dried leaf falling in autumn, she drifted to the ground. I screamed with everything I had, staring at Tang Yuren lying in a pool of blood, red as it bloomed on her white wedding dress like plum blossoms. Her entire face turned ghostly pale. She weakly turned her head toward my tombstone. A faint, bitter smile appeared at the corner of her lips. A single tear slipped from the corner of her eye. At that moment, it almost seemed like peace. But it wasn't, not even a little. Yuren, hang in there. The ambulance will be here soon. You can't die. Again and again, I'd tried to hold her in my arms. But every time I failed, that helplessness made me loathe myself to the core. Zhang Xieqi, the thing I regret most in this life is meeting you and falling in love with you, Tang Yuren said as she wept. The more she spoke, the harder the tears fell, flooding her face. If I had the chance to do it all over again, I would never fall in love with you again. Just as she said those words, her life was slipping away, almost completely drained from her body, until at last she lost all signs of life. She lay there in a pool of red snow. No, I screamed hysterically, shouting that if everything could start over again, I swore I would do everything in my power to make it up to her with love. That I would never let her suffer even the slightest grievance. That I would never let a single tear fall from her eyes again. As I kept thinking, I suddenly clutched my own head. A splitting pain surged through my skull. It felt like my head was about to explode. My vision went black and I collapsed to the ground. I fell right beside where she lay. When I opened my eyes again, I realized I had been reborn. I took out my phone and glanced at the date on the screen. It was July 12, 2022. Somehow, I had returned to my college days. What I didn't know was, my wife Tangyurin had also been reborn. At that moment, I was lying in the school infirmary. The school had organized a basketball match. I happened to be passing by the court when a stray basketball smacked me on the back of the head. At this point in time, Tangyurin was my college classmate, and the one who hit me with the basketball was her. A student from my class, soon as class president. She would come representing the whole class to check on me. Thinking of this, I closed my eyes in excitement, waiting for her to arrive. Suddenly, I heard footsteps approaching from outside the door. Following the sound, someone walked to my bedside. A faint scent of medicine filled the air. That fragrance was so familiar to me. It was the unique scent that belonged only to Tangyurin, and I missed it dearly. I couldn't help myself. I sniffed gently, inhaling through my nose. Then a voice as light as chimes rang out. It was Tangyurin. She lowered her head and looked at me lying on the bed. Her eyes half lowered. Her eyelashes were as thick and fine as if drawn with ink. I suddenly grabbed her hand. In my previous life, I never realized how deeply Tangyurin had loved me. In the 4 years after I died, I had wanted to hold her hand at every moment, to pull her into my arms, but every time my hands passed right through her. That helplessness, I had experienced it countless times, but now I could finally hold her hand. It was warm and soft. She kept staring at our joined hands, watching as I held her tightly. Her face flushed visibly. She bit her lip, and after struggling for a few seconds, she tried to pull her hand away. But no matter how many times she tried, she couldn't do it. She said nothing, so I shut my eyes and pretended to be unconscious. Just then, her best friend Jin Shaoxiao walked in. Pervert, let go of my Yuyuan. She rushed over and tried to pry my hand away. Tangyurin quickly stopped her, saying, Shaoxiao, be gentle. He's still injured, you might hurt him like this. Hearing her say that, my heart melted completely. Wives really are the best. Yuyuan, were you hit by the basketball too? Did it mess with your brain? He's clearly taking advantage of you, and you're still worried about him. Jin Shaoxiao looked at her with utter disbelief, as if she couldn't understand what was happening. A faint bitter smile crept onto Tangyurin's face. She had already made up her mind that if everything could start over, she never wanted anything to do with me again. The Tangyurin who once loved me deeply had already died in front of my grave. Hey, you're clearly awake now. Why are you still holding Yurin's hand? Let go already. Jin Shaoxiao scolded me with hands on her hips. I can't let go. She hit me with a basketball. Almost killed me. She has to take responsibility. Not only did I not release her hand, I even gave it a strong tug, pulling her toward me. She lost her balance and fell right on top of me. Her face landed on my thigh, even though there was a blanket between us. Her ears turned red instantly. My face turned red too. Red, almost purple. Yes, I had pulled her on purpose. But she landed in the wrong spot. The impact knocked the sweat from my forehead. My fingertips recoiled as if shocked by electricity. I pulled up the clothes at my side. Her eyes flickered nervously. My heart pounded uncontrollably in my chest. She cleared her throat lightly. After adjusting her emotions, she finally said that she was the class monitor of the art cell class. She told me her name was Tang Yuyuan. Just now, our class was playing basketball against class 8. It was one of our classmates who accidentally hit the ball too hard, and it ended up hitting you. I'm here to apologize to you on behalf of my class. Just an apology. At the very least, You should treat me to a meal. Right now, I was dying for a chance to deepen my relationship with Tang Yunren. Although we were university classmates, we had never really talked before. So I needed to find a good reason to spend more time with her. Tang Yunren was now looking at me with a strange gaze. Something about this progression didn't feel right. She remembered clearly that in the previous life, when she came to see me, I always looked completely uninterested in her. She was the campus belle of Jiangshang University. She had no shortage of admirers, but Zhang Xiechi seemed oddly indifferent to her, which only piqued her curiosity more. Not only that, Zhang Xiechi gave her an indescribable sense of familiarity. Even after several encounters on campus, I always acted cold and distant toward her. She would stare at my back, feeling more and more certain of that familiar feeling, until one day she finally realized that I was the neighbor boy who had once pulled her out of the river when we were young. Back then, Zhang Xiechi had been especially kind to her, always sharing his best snacks with her, always standing up to the people who bullied her, ending up bruised and filthy every time, but still grinning at her, saying he was strong, that he was fine. Until middle school, when the Tang family moved away, and we lost contact from then on. When we met again later, through our conversations, Tang Yunren discovered that Zhang Xiechi no longer remembered her childhood self. She felt a little frustrated about that, and wanted to bully this forgetful guy in front of her. But over time, the two of us became quarreling frenemies. Thinking of that made Tang Yunren silently melancholic. In her previous life, she had made up her mind to never have anything to do with me again. All the wounds and pain she once felt were things she never wanted to experience again. That Zhang Xiechi, I'm not really used to eating with guys. That's okay, I'm not used to eating with girls either. Let's help each other get used to it. After all, it's impossible to stay single forever. I had made up my mind. I had to seize this opportunity and win Tang Yunren over as soon as possible. What should I do now? Tang Yunren was getting a terrible headache. What was wrong with this Zhang Xiechi? He insisted on not giving up. She had to think of a way to turn him down. My mom is really strict with me. If she finds out that I'm having dinner with a guy outside, she overthinks everything. Then let's not eat outside. I'll come to your place, or you can come to mine. I added that part without thinking. In the end, with no other choice, Tang Yunren had to agree to eat with me. It's just a meal anyway. It's not like I'm going to do anything to her. Once this meal is over, she can stay far away from me again. Tang Yunren lowered her eyes in thought, and I secretly pondered in my heart. Suddenly something hit me. Just now, it seemed like Tang Yunren called me by name. Strange, how did she know my name? It wasn't odd that I knew hers. After all, she was the belle of Jiangshang University. What guy on campus didn't know the belle's name? Even in my last life, when I didn't care much about this stuff, I still knew Tang Yunren was the belle of our school. But I was just a regular student in the business department. How did Tang Yunren know my name? Could it be she already liked me now? The thought of that made me secretly rub my hands together in excitement. Tomorrow's meal with her. I must find a chance to test things out. But by noon the next day, before I could even see Tang Yunren, I ended up running into her number one pursuer, Wu Qingshu. It was Wu Qingshu who found me first. He and Tang Yunren had been classmates from elementary school through college, and they were neighbors too. He had been chasing after Tang Yuyuan all along. Even on the day of my wedding with Tang Yuyuan, he showed up and caused a huge scene. After the wedding, he would still pop up now and then in my neighborhood. And after I died, he more than once or twice offered to take care of Tang Yunren. But he made the mistake of assuming I was completely out of the picture, because Tang Yunren never agreed to any of it. That guy Wu is the one. From business class 6, Zhang Xiechi. I've already asked around and confirmed it. Wang Zhen pointed at me and said that to Wu Qingshu. So it was him. Wu Qingshu rolled up his sleeves and marched up to me. So you're the damn Zhang Xiechi who needs to stay the hell away from my Yunrin. Your Yunrin? Is she your sister or your cousin? Ha, you little punk really need a beating, huh? My attitude had clearly pissed Wu Qingshu off. He rolled up his sleeves and aimed a punch at my handsome face. Just as I was about to fight back, I saw Tang Yunren coming down from upstairs. Seeing that, I quickly came up with an idea. If I just let him hit me once, play the victim a little, and let Tang Yunren see it, she'd definitely feel bad for me. Maybe even help me to the infirmary, ask me if I was okay and take care of me. That way, our relationship could heat up quickly. That was my plan. But something unexpected happened. Right when Wu Qingshu's fist was just 2.5 centimeters from my face, his foot suddenly slipped. With a loud thud, he ended up falling to his knees right in front of me. Just then, Tang Yunren walked over, completely confused, looking at Wu Qingshu kneeling there in a daze. Wu Qingshu, why are you kneeling to him? Did you do something unforgivable to him? Wu Qingshu looked like he was about to cry, like he just wanted to find a hole to crawl into and cry. Let's just ignore him. Come on, let's go eat, I said, reaching my hand out to Tang Yunren. I naturally took her bag from her, hooked it over my arm and said I'll carry it myself. Tang Yunren looked at the pink plush charm hanging from the bag, and thought that kind of bag really didn't suit a tall guy like me. But the moment her hand brushed my arm, she froze. Such a firm arm. In her past life, she'd touched it before. Every time I got drunk, she was the one who helped me home and changed my clothes that reeked of alcohol. She hadn't just touched me. She even kissed me secretly while I slept soundly. Of course, only on the forehead and cheeks. She had thought about kissing my lips, but she was too shy to do it. Why is your face so red? I reached out and placed my hand on her forehead. That only made it worse. Now, it wasn't just her face that was red. Even her ears and neck had turned crimson. Realizing it, she quickly stepped back to paces, putting some distance between us. The sun is just a bit strong, she mumbled, her voice stuttering, trying hard to steady the wild beating of her heart, thinking to herself, what on earth am I doing? Yesterday, I sent him a handsome selfie, and then a goodnight message. Now I'm acting all close and familiar with him. This is nothing like the Zhang Xiechi I knew in my past life. The sun really is strong today. I looked up toward the blazing sun in the sky. Come on, I'll take you to a restaurant. The place has a nice vibe, and the food there is pretty good. Clean too. I promise you'll like the food there. After I said that, I moved to the side with the sun, using my 183 centimeter height to block the sunlight for Tang Yunren. At first, Tang Yunren didn't notice anything, but later, she realized she'd been walking in my shadow the whole time. At first, she thought it was just coincidence. But when she walked faster, I walked faster too. And when she slowed down, I deliberately slowed my steps, trying as much as I could to keep her in my shadow. Why would he do that? Tang Yunren couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he tried. He peeked up at me quietly. He saw me standing there in the sunlight, calm and steady. A deep sense of safety filled the air around me. We're here, this is the restaurant. I stopped walking. As I turned around, I noticed Tang Yunren's face had grown even redder. Sure, the sun was bright, but not nearly hot enough to make someone flush like that. At that moment, Tang Yunren looked at the restaurant in front of him. His expression wavered with a touch of panic. He used to come to this restaurant often. He really loved the food here. He wondered if I already knew that when I brought him here. No way, it had to just be a coincidence. Don't just stand there in the sun. Come on, let's go inside. I naturally reached for Tang Yunren's hand and led him into the restaurant. We picked a quiet corner to sit down. I handed him the menu. Order whatever you like. It's my treat, or maybe you'd rather choose for me. Tang Yunren passed the menu back to me. Then I'll order the pickled fish soup. As soon as I said that, Tang Yunren froze, because I never really liked pickled fish. And yet, it was his absolute favorite dish. Then I started listing more dishes. Tang Yunren blinked in disbelief. Every dish I named happened to be something he loved, but none of them included lotus root. Instead, they were all the dishes I used to enjoy. Honey-glazed dates, sweet potato balls, braised duck with vegetarian ham, and let's get a bowl of crucian carp soup. I rattled them all off in one breath. At that point, Tang Yunren was completely stunned. Every single dish was his favorite. How could I possibly know that? After holding it in for a few minutes, Tang Yunren couldn't help but ask aloud, "How do you know I like to eat these dishes?" But how could I not know? After I died, for reasons I couldn't explain, I had to follow Tang Yunren around. As if tethered by an invisible thread, wherever he went, I followed. We were inseparable, so all the things I didn't notice when I was alive, I learned by staying by his side every single day after death. Watching how he ate, slept, and lived, it would be harder not to know. Of course, I couldn't tell him I'd been reborn. Tang Yunren would never believe it anyway, I guessed. When he heard that, Tang Yunren clearly didn't believe me. Guessing one dish might be a coincidence, but guessing that many and getting them all right, there's no way that was just chance. He pulled out his phone to distract himself. I leaned over, getting close to his face. "I'm not lying to you. I've just had really good luck these past 2 days. If you don't believe me, I'll show you with a little experiment later." Tang Yunren looked up, only to find my handsome face suddenly so close. His breath caught in his throat. "What kind of experiment?" "You'll see soon enough," I said with a hint of mystery. Soon, all the dishes were brought to the table. "Here, have some fish." I used my chopsticks to place a piece of fish in his bowl. Tang Yunren was dumbfounded. In our previous life, we were married for years, and I never once served him food. He used to imagine, deep in his heart, that maybe one day I'd suddenly see the good in him, that I might treat him like a normal husband would. But even until his death, I had never treated him well. Thinking of that, Tang Yunren's emotions wavered. His eyes turned red at the corners. "What's wrong?" I noticed something wasn't right and asked with concern. "It's nothing, just some dust in my eye." Tang Yunren tried hard to steady his feelings. "You got dust in your eye. Let me blow it up for you." I stood up and leaned toward him. When he saw I was really going to blow on his eye, his face immediately flushed deep red. Instinctively, he tried to pull back. "Don't move," I said with a slightly commanding tone, which sent Tang Yunren's heart racing. And then, I gently pinched his chin, lifting his face so I could blow more easily. As I gently blew, his lashes fluttered like butterfly wings, and I couldn't help but get swept away by the sight. Tang Yunren, lost in thought just like me, had his whole face flushed red. In that moment, he looked like a ripened persimmon in late autumn, blushing from head to toe. What an adorable expression. I stared at Tang Yunren without blinking. I thought to myself, this little girl must have already fallen for me. She's just too shy to admit it right now. Confessing something like this should really be the guy's job. I'll have to find the right moment for it. My eyes are fine now. Tang Yunren brushed away my hand. His heart was pounding so hard. It felt like it would leap out of his throat any second. Right now, Tang Yunren's mind was a total mess. From yesterday until now, my every move had become harder and harder for him to decipher. Things clearly hadn't developed like this in our previous life. After the meal, Tang Yunren just wanted to hurry back to school. If he kept staying with me like this, he was afraid he'd start having unrealistic fantasies again. Fantasies that I might actually have feelings for him. In our previous life, he had stayed by my side all that time, just hoping that one day, I'd suddenly fall for him. But in the end, it was all just a foolish dream. Now that he had finally been given a second chance at life, he didn't want to live this life the way he had before. So he had to stay far away from me. That project is getting pretty intense. I'm heading back to prepare first. Tang Yunren had just taken a step when I grabbed his hand. I had absolutely no intention of letting go. Did you already forget what I said during lunch about how my luck's just been really good these past 2 days? You didn't believe me. So now I'm going to prove it with an experiment. A few minutes later, I brought Tang Yunrin to the entrance of a Chow Tai Fook store. Why did you bring me here? Tang Yunrin looked completely puzzled. Look at that. I pointed to the banner by the entrance. There's a lucky draw event going on. The grand prize is a free item from a selection inside the store. That's pretty much impossible to win. Look at how huge that drawing box is. And not only does each ID only get one draw, but these big prizes are often quietly claimed by store employees. Tang Yunrin felt like there was no way it could happen. So you don't believe I can win the grand prize? How about we make a bet? If I win, you give me a kiss, how about that? Hearing me say that, Tang Yunrin blinked in surprise. He looked at me with this uncertain, unreadable gaze. Was I joking? There's no way I'd actually want him to kiss me, right? I had to be teasing him. Yeah, that had to be it. Thinking that, a faint bitterness flickered across Tang Yunrin's eyes. What if you don't win? Then I'll kiss you instead. As I said that, my eyes were locked onto his soft red lips. Tang Yunrin's lips had such a beautiful shape. Even when he wasn't smiling, they looked sweet. They must be amazing to kiss. Tang Yunrin rolled his eyes at me again. Stop wasting time. Just go draw already. I have to get back to school. You're in such a rush to kiss me. Fine, I'll grant your wish. I rolled up my sleeves, ready to show off my skills at the draw. Tang Yunrin glanced at his phone. There were only 30 minutes left before class. He couldn't afford to waste any more time. Just then, I handed the folded slip to him. You open it. Tang Yunrin shook his head, then quickly unfolded the paper with a calm expression. He had just opened his mouth to say see, that it was clearly impossible to win. The words were halfway out when he saw the bold characters on the paper. Grand prize! Tang Yunrin's eyes instantly widened, round and full of disbelief. He had really won. Just like that. I looked at Tang Yunrin standing there frozen in shock, and couldn't help reaching out to gently ruffle his hair. I told you my luck's been amazing lately. Tang Yunrin was still in complete shock. He hadn't even registered that I was patting his head. Don't just stand there. Go pick out your prize. Class is about to start. I pushed Tang Yunrin toward the prize section. The selection of prizes was pretty limited. Just a dozen or so items. Who are you choosing it for? Tang Yunrin asked. Before I could answer, she continued speaking. Are you giving it to your aunt? It's for my wife. I looked at Tang Yunrin as I said it. Her pupils visibly widened at the sound of those words. What is that supposed to mean? Alright, I was just messing with you. I picked it for you. Lately, I've come to realize more and more that Tang Yunrin's little expressions are just too adorable. The more I look, the more I like her. Give it to me. I don't want it. We're not even that close. Tang Yunrin was all flustered inside. What I said earlier was way too misleading, wasn't it? First, I said it was for my wife. Then I told her it was for her. Rounding that off basically makes her my wife. Which means in our past life, she really was my wife. But not in this life. Just as Tang Yunrin's mind was spinning in chaos, I asked the shop assistant to take the ring out of the glass case. I want this one. Tang Yunrin stared at the ring in my hand. She wondered why I would pick a ring. Could it be that Zhang Xieqi already has a girl he likes? So that's why in our past life, Zhang Xieqi never liked her. Suddenly, her heart ached terribly. She understood and finally understood. No wonder I had been so cold to her in our previous life. It turns out there had always been someone I secretly liked. I just never told anyone about it. That's too cruel. Zhang Xieqi was being even crueler than in the past. He actually brought her here to help choose a ring for the girl he liked. The more she thought about it, the more Tang Yunrin's eyes turned misty. Her heart hurt so much she could barely breathe. Just as she was about to leave and escape from all this, I suddenly grabbed her hand. if I already had someone I liked? Why was I still holding her hand? Before Tang Yunrin could pull her hand away, she saw me slip the ring onto her finger. She froze, staring dumbly at the ring on her ring finger. Her mind completely shut down. Zhang Xie. Wasn't he going to give the ring to the girl he liked? Why would he give it to her? I looked at the ring on Tang Yunrin's hand and asked softly, "Do you like it?" I remembered that in our past life, Tang Yunrin was hit by a construction truck, all because of a wedding ring. "I like it a lot," Tang Yunrin replied instinctively. But right after that, she quickly shook her head. No, I can't accept this. She tried to take the ring off, but I stepped forward and grabbed her hand again. "This is a girl's item. If not for you, who else would I give it to? Giving it to my sister wouldn't make sense. Giving it to my father would think she was having an affair. Besides, I couldn't exactly say it was just a ring. I had no choice, really, of all the designated prizes. This ring had the highest price tag. Since it was free, of course I picked the most expensive one." Tang Yunrin finally understood. It wasn't about whether it was a ring or not. It was just because it was the most valuable item. She had thought I picked it deliberately to give it to her. "If you don't take it, I'll have to throw it away." I said that on purpose. "You're so wasteful. You finally win something and now you're throwing it out." "Yeah, I'm pretty wasteful. That's why I need someone who can keep me in check in the future." I looked into Tang Yunrin's eyes with deep affection. We were standing so close that she could see her own reflection in my eyes. And that made her blush all over again. Her cheeks were as red as a boiled shrimp. Seeing her like that, I wondered, should I confess my feelings now? It really was a perfect opportunity. But this was only our second official meeting. Would I scare her if I did it now? Maybe I should wait a little longer. Just in time for the Kixi festival. I'll confess to her then. I need to plan it carefully, so she never forget that romantic confession for the rest of her life. We walked side by side to the school gates. I insisted on walking Tang Yunrin all the way to the art building's entrance. "Go on, get to class. Don't be late for taking your medicine," Tang Yunrin muttered as she played with the ring on her hand. "Did you forget something?" I stared at Tang Yunrin's lips as I spoke. When she turned her head, she saw exactly where my eyes were fixed. Only then did it dawn on her. She remembered the bet we made. If she lost, she'd have to kiss me. She had kissed me before, but only when I was drunk and asleep. Now doing it openly like this was just too embarrassing. "Hurry up and kiss me. Class is about to start." I leaned my face close to Tang Yunrin's lips. Her heart was racing like crazy at that moment. Seeing her frozen in place, I teased, asking if she was trying to weasel out of it. I really didn't expect it. That the campus belle of Jiangshan University would go back on her word. "Who says I'm going back on my word?" Tang Yunrin said, then stood on tiptoe and closed her eyes. She gave me a quick kiss at the corner of my lips, then ran off, face burning red. I stood there stunned for a moment, then raised my hand and touched the corner of my mouth, unable to stop the smile spreading on my lips. I only told her to kiss me, not where to kiss, and she chose this spot. She's definitely falling for me. If that's the case, then confessing on Kixi might really work. The class bell rang. I was in an exceptionally good mood. I strolled toward the academic building at a relaxed pace, humming a cheerful tune. But what I didn't know was that Wu Qingshu was glaring daggers at me from behind. He had seen everything just now. The girl he liked had taken the initiative to kiss another guy. Wu Qingshu wished he could slam me to the ground and stomp me. In his heart, he swore he would make sure I paid for this. After school, I walked home with Tang Yunrin like we'd done for 19 years. Our shadows stretched long in the setting sun, tangled and blending together. Everything felt so perfect. Tang Yunrin looked at me, acting so differently from how I had in our past life, and wondered if maybe heaven had pitied how miserable she'd been before. and granted her this second chance at life, just to make me fall for her. If her guess was right, and if I really did like her now, should she accept it? At that moment, Tang Yunrin's heart was a storm of emotions. On one hand, she couldn't stop herself from falling for me. On the other hand, she'd been too heartbroken in our last life because of me, and didn't want to repeat that pain again. What about the ring I gave you earlier? I suddenly interrupted her thoughts with that question. I had already noticed that Tang Yunrin wasn't wearing the ring, and wondered if maybe she didn't like the design. It's not convenient, so I didn't wear it. What's inconvenient about it? Or do you think the ring is ugly? No, it's actually really pretty. I really like it. Then wear it on your hand. I did give Tang Yunrin that ring on purpose. It was my way of declaring my claim that this girl was already taken. I'm wearing it around my neck. Tang Yunrin pulled the ring out from beneath her shirt. Rings aren't meant to be worn around the neck. That's practically desecrating it. Let me put it on you properly. As I spoke, I reached toward Tang Yunrin's neck, about to unfasten the chain. Hey, what are you doing? Her face turned completely red. I was tall, with a wide build, and as I leaned in, it felt like I was wrapping her completely in my arms. Her heart was racing, fluttering like a trapped deer. Don't move, what if you get hurt? My voice was both commanding and gentle. It made Tang Yunrin soften on the spot, and she obediently stopped moving. As I fiddled with the chain around her neck, I looked at her, quiet and compliant, and barely held back the urge to pull her into my arms, to cherish her properly. Her face was right against my chest. I was wearing a simple white t-shirt, and the sweat soaked through it onto my skin. The lines and texture traced along my chest made Tang Yunrin faint outline and her heart skip again. I wondered if I could keep going like this. If I kept this up, she'd definitely see through me. Still not done yet. It got caught on your shirt. Hold on and don't move. I was blatantly lying through my teeth. Truth is, I had already unclasped it long ago, but I deliberately kept us in this intimate pose, just to let the warmth between us keep rising. Still ready yet. Tang Yunrin's anxious voice trembled. If I didn't finish soon, she was going to turn as red as the evening sky. Almost done. Move a bit closer. I can't see clearly. A little more, just a little more. We're already so close, isn't that enough? Tang Yunrin took a deep breath and stepped half a pace into my arms. There was only a centimeter left between us before we were completely pressed together. But then, before she could adjust to the closeness, I suddenly moved and pulled her tightly into my embrace. Instantly, the sound of our pounding hearts filled the air. I couldn't tell if it was hers or mine, but I could feel it clearly. My own heartbeat was speeding up too, inhaling the faint medicinal fragrance from her body. I knew this moment. If I didn't do something, I wouldn't be a man. My chest tightened, rising and falling as I made up my mind. I lowered my head and brushed a kiss on her flushed, delicate earlobe. The moment I did, I felt Tang Yunrin in my arms, suddenly free stiff, feeling her shy, inexperienced reaction. I found it incredibly endearing, but everything has its limits. Reluctantly, I let go of her. All done now, Tang Yunrin stared at me in a daze. It took her a good 2.5 minutes before her mind finally returned from that trance. Then her pupils widened in disbelief. You uked me just now, Tang Yunrin stammered, biting her lower lip, instinctively covering her ears with both hands. They still tingled like they'd been shot. Maybe I wasn't paying attention and accidentally touched you. I put on a righteous expression, feigning innocence. Nonsense. Deep down, I wondered if I had gone too far. Did I end up scaring Tang Yunrin? Inwardly, I was a grown man. But at this time, Tang Yunrin was just a freshman in college, barely 18. Impulsiveness truly is the devil. Sorry, I misunderstood you. Tang Yunrin turned her face away. What had she been thinking just now? I was just trying to help her pick up her necklace. In our past life, we lived under the same roof day in and day out, and I never once crossed the line with her. So in this life, how could I possibly be trying to take advantage of her? Let me help you put the ring on. I had just taken Tang Yunren's hand when she pulled it back. No need, I don't want to wear it. Her fingers tightened, and she placed the ring back around her neck. Seeing that, I realized I really had been too hasty and reckless. Great, now I'd made her upset. I needed to think of a way to make it up to her. As I was considering how, I suddenly felt her hostile gaze shooting straight at me. I whipped my head around, scanning the surroundings with sharp eyes, but saw no one suspicious. Tang Yunren frowned and asked, "Zhang Cheng, what's wrong?" Just now, I felt like someone was watching me. Tang Yunren glanced at my overly handsome face and muttered softly, "Looking that handsome, isn't it normal to get stared at?" What was that? What did you just say? Nothing. Tang Yunren's heart pounded nervously. She had whispered so quietly, yet I'd still heard her. Did I have dog ears or something? No way! I clearly heard you say something just now. Were you secretly bad-mouthing me? No, really, I wasn't. Then swear it. Swear your big brother. Our bickering might have been childish, but that moment between us was all too real. Yet it gave off a surprisingly harmonious and beautiful feeling. Not far away, Wu Qingshu stood glaring with rage. His eyes looked like they were about to pop out of their sockets. Damn that bastard Zhang Xieqi. How dare he try to flirt with my goddess? What made Wu Qingshu even more furious was the bashful and demure look on Tang Yunren's face, something he had never seen before. Even though he and Tang Yunren had grown up together, she had always been cold and indifferent toward him, barely giving him the time of day. But with me, she was completely different. Old Wu had everything arranged already. Now it was time to act. Wang reminded him from the side, "Hurry up and let them make a move. I want Yunren to be completely disappointed in that bastard." Wu Qingshu gritted his molars viciously. At that moment, Tang Yunren and I had just stepped out of the pharmacy when suddenly two girls came rushing at me from both sides. "Chech, you're such a bad boy. It's been 2.5 days already. Why haven't you come to see me?" One of the girls cooed sweetly, while lightly punching my chest with her little fists. "Yeah, exactly. I've missed you so much I could die." The other girl, wearing super short hot pants, pouted with a sultry look, striking a deliberately flirty pose. And from his hidden spot, Wu Qingshu's face twisted into a sinister grin. "Let's see how you explain yourself to Tang Yunren now." I said, "Are you sure you've got the right person?" But those words didn't come from me. They came from Tang Yunren. Tang Yunren stared coldly at the two girls, and I looked at him, surprised that he stepped in to speak for me. Just moments ago, I'd been racking my brain on how to explain things to him. But then he came out with that statement. "Hey, who are you? Are you Chech's new fling?" One of the girls said, placing her hands on her hips. At that moment, I felt it was necessary to clear things up with Tang Yunren. Otherwise, if he misunderstood me as some kind of playboy, even jumping into the Qing River wouldn't wash me clean. "Yunren, I don't know them." Tang Yunren nodded. I knew he understood what kind of person I was, even if he didn't know who these two girls were. He still trusted my character. Hearing Tang Yunren say that, I felt overwhelmed with emotion. Although I had guessed that Tang Yunren had started to like me by now, I hadn't expected that he liked me this much, to the point of trusting me without question. Anyone would be deeply moved by that. "Thank you, Yunren." I grabbed Tang Yunren by the shoulders and gazed at him with deep affection. Tang Yunren couldn't handle me looking at him with such tenderness. He quickly turned his head away and brushed my hand off to the side. Meanwhile, the two girls standing nearby, having just been force-fed a mouthful of romance, demanded to know who I was. What right did I have to monopolize Chech? One of the girls, wearing a revealing top, shoved Tang Yunren on the shoulder, pushing him back unsteadily. I reached out and wrapped my arm around Tang Yunren's slender waist, steadying him. Are you alright? Tangyurin shook his head. The next second, I turned my gaze toward the two girls, my eyes instantly turning cold. Did you ask me before touching my woman? Tangyurin's cherry lips parted slightly when he heard that. His pupils dilated suddenly, and he stared fixedly at my back. My figure at that moment seemed to be etched into the twilight canvas of dusk, with sharp and clear lines. It gave him a sense of security he had never felt before, making his heart flutter all over again. Apologize to him. I looked at the girl who had just shoved Tangyurin. She was wearing a crop top that exposed her belly button, and she was so frightened by me that she turned and ran without a word. The girl in hot pants, scared I might come after her too, also made a run for it. Stop right there. Let them go. Tangyurin tugged on my arm and said, but the moment she grabbed my arm, Tangyurin suddenly realized my arm had actually become quite solid now. And just now when I held her tightly in my arms, because we were so close that she could almost sink into me, she genuinely felt the firmness of my muscles. Tangyurin remembered the photo of my ABS I sent her before, and wondered if it really was me. I noticed Tangyurin's gaze, and also remembered sending her that photo. Didn't you say last time you didn't believe I had an 8-pack? I'll show you now. As I spoke, I moved, about to lift my t-shirt straight up. Terrified, Tangyurin turned and bolted. Why are you running? I stared blankly at the girl as she ran. The fleeing Tangyurin glanced down at herself and seemed to suddenly realize something. I was flirting shamelessly with a young girl. Wu Qingshu, watching from his hidden spot, had a face so dark it looked like iron. Damn it, this is absolutely infuriating. Old Wu, why don't we just charge in and beat him up? Wang Jingting said. Let's save that for a last resort. So do you have another plan? Isn't our class playing basketball against theirs tomorrow? When we're on the court, I'll make him lose face in front of Yurin. But what if he doesn't play? Wu Qingshu gave a crooked, cold smile, his face full of confident smugness. If he doesn't play, then he won't have a choice when the time comes. Meanwhile, after running home, Tangyurin stared at her own reflection in the mirror. Her face was as red as an apple, even though she had been reborn after living into her 30s. In neither her past life nor this one had she ever experienced real love. Thinking back to that sweet moment with me made Tangyurin's face flush even more deeply. The red spread down her neck and behind her ears. Her mind was entirely filled with thoughts of me. She couldn't understand why I treated her this way. It clearly had nothing to do with money. Everything was so confusing. This feeling made her both hate and like it at the same time. While she was lost in thought, she suddenly received a message from me. What are you up to? I want to hear your voice. Tangyurin's breath grew slightly warm. After calming down for a couple of seconds, she typed out a reply with trembling fingers. What's wrong with you? You seem to have something on your mind. She didn't know if she was overthinking it, but she could sense that something was off with me. Tangyurin actually guessed correctly. After I got home, while giving my sister Zhang Yuan her birthday gift, my memory suddenly flashed back to my previous life, where I died suddenly from illness, and Zhang Yuan cried uncontrollably at my coffin. That was when I finally realized how much she cared about me. This sister of mine, who couldn't even remember my birthday. I felt overwhelmed with guilt and sorrow. I just missed you. I wanted to hear your voice. I missed her. I actually said I missed her. Tangyurin pressed her phone to her chest, with her breathing all out of rhythm, her chest visibly rising and falling. When I saw she hadn't replied for a while, a bit of bitterness surfaced on my face. No wonder women always say men are pathetic. I really was the definition of that. In my past life, Tangyurin took care of me so well, but I was like a blind fool, never even noticed. Now I wanted her, but I couldn't reach her anymore. I glanced at the time. It was already close to 11. It was so late. I figured I shouldn't disturb her anymore. Just as I was about to put my phone down, a new message notification popped up at the perfect moment. Tangyuan had sent a voice message Jong Siechi. What's really going on with you? Did something upset you? Her voice was soft, gentle, and beautiful. Hearing it instantly lifted the dark clouds in my heart. My wife really is the best. I shouted excitedly, and felt as if I'd just been resurrected on the spot like a man, pumped full of adrenaline. I didn't really run into anything upsetting. It's just a little insomnia. I simply wanted to hear your voice. I just wanted to hear her voice. Why would I want to hear his voice? Tangyuan kept picking at the rhinestones on his phone case. One after another, he pried and picked. Right now, his heart felt like it was being scratched by cat claws, scratching and itching nonstop. Just like his fingers that couldn't stop picking at the rhinestones. No, I can't keep following his rhythm like this. My heart is beating so fast it's hard to breathe. With that thought, Tangyuan quickly changed the topic. He typed out a message and sent it. Happy birthday to your sister. I let out a puzzled sound. How did he know today is Jong Yuan's birthday? I don't remember ever telling him that. Could it be that he was also reborn? The moment that idea surfaced, I immediately dismissed it in my heart. Because the chance of one person being reborn is already down to Mariana Trench levels. That deep and that impossible. Things like rebirth only happen in books. And even in novels, I've never come across it personally. Even if there's a chance, it's practically zero. So it's absolutely impossible. Eliminating that possibility, there's only one explanation left. With that thought, I sent over a few voice messages. I only ever mentioned to you that my sister's birthday was coming, but I never told you it was today. So how did you know? Tangyuan instinctively parted his red lips. Crap, he had been led along by me the whole time. He was so focused on changing the subject that in his panic, he forgot. I wasn't supposed to know when Jong Yuan's birthday was. How was he supposed to explain that? But before Tangyuan could figure out what to say, I sent another message first. Could it be what? Did I guess that he was reborn? What now? I'm so nervous. What if I really ask that? What then? Another new message arrived. Do you secretly have a crush on me? So you've been secretly investigating me. Tangyuan froze for a moment. This wasn't what he imagined at all. Stop being so full of yourself. Who said I had a crush on you? Isn't it totally normal to have a crush on me? I am handsome. You really are full of yourself. Tangyuan muttered those words under his breath. But then again, I really am good looking. And now I'm even more handsome than before. When we were together during the day, he kept stealing glances at me. His skin was honestly so nice. It almost made me want to bring him home. Did you start using some kind of skincare product recently? I smiled when I read that message. This little girl clearly thinks I'm handsome but won't admit it. People always say the opposite of what they mean, saying no with their lips, while their heart is desperately hoping you'll stay. If you want to know, just call me husband, and I'll tell you. In your dreams, I'm going to sleep. After sending 3 angry messages, Tangyuan really shut off his phone in frustration. Do you actually care that much about calling me husband? Tangyuan mumbled to himself. Only after snapping out of it did he realize that every single rhinestone on his phone case had been completely pried off by him. It's all Zhang Che's fault for having nothing better to do and sending those weird messages, saying all those blush-inducing, heart-racing, easily misunderstood things. If it weren't for that, the brand new phone case wouldn't be ruined already. Talking to Jong Siechi really burns through phone cases. I'm not chatting with him anymore. Sleep, I need to sleep. Tangyuan, feeling a little sulky, flopped onto the bed. He pulled up the corner of the blanket and habitually tucked it between his legs. Sleeping like that made him feel extra secure. But lying in bed, Tangyuan tossed and turned. No matter what, he just couldn't fall asleep. And every so often, he would glance over at the phone on the nightstand. But his phone was turned off. What if Jang Siechi sends another message? What if Jang Siechi isn't asleep and is just waiting for my reply? The more he thought about it, the more Tang Yuren's mind felt like a tangled mess of yarn. The more he tried to sort it out, the messier it became. Whatever. I had already made up my mind before I died in my last life. He would have nothing more to do with me from now on. It was his business whether he sent messages or not. He could do whatever he wanted. Tang Yuren grabbed the pillow and covered his face with it. He turned off the lights and went to sleep. 10 minutes later, Tang Yuren turned his phone back on. He opened WeChat and went into the chat with me. Sure enough, I had sent a new message. There were 2 voice messages, each just 1 second long. What did I send? Curious, Tang Yuren tapped the first voice message. A simple goodnight spoken in the tone of an 18-year-old boy. Yet the voice carried a deep, magnetic charm. Just hearing it made Tang Yuren feel like even his ears were pregnant. He needed a full minute to calm down. Only then did Tang Yuren slowly collect himself. There was still one more voice message. What did I say? Tang Yuren reached out and tapped on it with his finger. His hand slipped and the phone fell from his grip, landing softly on the bedsheet. Tang Yuren froze in place, stunned. A long moment passed before he came back to his senses. What did I just call him? Baby, no. No way. There's no way I would call him baby. He must have misheard it. Tang Yuren picked up the phone again. He replayed the last voice message. Listen to it once more. Baby, then again baby. And again baby. It was really baby. He hadn't misheard. I really called him baby. Tang Yuren yanked the blanket up over his head, afraid his screams might wake the neighbors in the dorm. That night, Tang Yuren barely slept at all. His head was full of my voice, baby, echoing endlessly. Meanwhile, I had a restful night's sleep. Even dreamed of Tang Yuren calling me husband. It was only a matter of time. I refused to believe otherwise. If I shamelessly and persistently chased after Tang Yuren and still couldn't win him over, then my handsome face and sword-trained body would be wasted. Totally wasted. The next day, just after class, Wu Qingshu came storming toward me. Zhang Xieqi, hold on. The basketball match between our classes is about to start. You and I will face off on the court. Loser backs off and must never pursue Yunren again. What do you take Yunren for? You're gambling with him. I looked straight at Wu Qingshu without flinching. Young as I was, my youthful brows carried a touch of reckless pride. So you're scared? Wu Qingshu goaded me on purpose. That trick doesn't work on me. Yunren is a person, not some object to be used in a bet. Who said I was treating Yunren like an object? Don't twist my words. I'm just asking if you dare face me or not. After my rebirth, I came with maxed out basketball skills. Why wouldn't I dare? Fine, I'll play against you. But if you lose, stay far away from Yunren. Don't ever bother him again. Wu Qingshu burst out laughing. Zhang Xieqi, you just said betting over Yunren was wrong. And now you're doing exactly that. I'm not like you. I said it not to bet on him, but to protect him. I don't want him being pestered by a buzzing fly all day. He deserves peace and quiet. You're unbelievable? Wu Qingshu was so angry his fingertips trembled. Just wait, on the court. I'll see if you can still act this cocky. Wu Qingshu flung his hand in frustration, then turned and stormed off. In the art department classroom, Tang Yuren sat dazed, though not just absent-minded. His mind kept replaying last night. The conversation with me. I told him I missed him. I called him baby. The more he thought about it, the redder his face became. He didn't want to keep thinking about it, but he couldn't stop himself, like he was possessed. My deep, masculine voice lingered in his mind. No matter how he tried, he couldn't shake it. He really had no defense against me. But hadn't he already decided not to like me anymore? Just as Tang Yuren was battling a headache, the classroom suddenly erupted into chaos. Even the hallway was filled with clusters of excited girls, scattering and running in groups. What's going on? Xing Shaoxiao asked in total confusion. You don't know. It was a match between Class 5 of the Computer Science Department and Class 6 of the Business Department's basketball team. Class 5 of the Business Department too. Urine, isn't that the class your childhood friend Woo King-shu is in? I remember his basketball skills were amazing. Didn't he even train at a basketball camp before? Tang Yuyuan nodded. He said his uncle was a coach for the basketball team. So that's how it is. Let's go check it out then. Another girl said excitedly, "Let's go." Jong Siechi from class 76 of the business department is there too. A lot of girls went just to see him. How come I never really noticed him before? He's getting more and more handsome now. Feels like he could even compete with the school heartthrob. Jong Siechi is there too. Tang Yuyuan was surprised. He had watched this basketball match in his previous life before he was born. Actually, last night. He had also received a message from Woo King-shu asking him to come watch. He remembered very clearly. I didn't participate in this basketball match. Come to think of it, a lot of things seemed off after being reborn. He had thought about this, but still couldn't figure it out. Could it be that the world he was in now wasn't truly the same as his previous life? Maybe it was a parallel universe. He couldn't make sense of it. Jong Siechi was also on his mind. Ziqiao couldn't stop thinking about the other day in the volunteer room when I held Tang Yurin's hand and refused to let go. It left her completely frustrated. What's so handsome about him anyway? Yurin, let's not go anymore. Tang Yuan nodded. He had been thinking the same. He made up his mind, putting aside what happened a few days ago. From now on, he needed to stay clear-headed. Stay calm. If he said he wouldn't go, then he wouldn't go. From now on, he would cut me off completely. If I ever came to find him again, he would put on an aloof, strangers-keep-out attitude and absolutely ignore me. Tang Yuyuan had made a firm decision. But his eyes, they had a will of their own and uncontrollably looked out the window. He told himself he must not look. Tang Yuyuan forcibly turned his neck away. He needed to distract himself with drawing. Tang Yuyuan pulled out his sketchbook and began to draw. 2.5 minutes later, he had drawn a basketball. Tang Yuyuan kept staring at the basketball on the sketchbook. As he stared, it felt like the ball started moving. I was dribbling, getting ready to shoot. Suddenly, Tang Yuyuan pushed back his chair and stood up. Din Ziqiao looked up at him. "What are you doing?" "Going to the restroom." The scene shifted. Tang Yuyuan arrived at the court. The game hadn't started yet. Both teams were still warming up. At a glance, Tang Yuyuan spotted me on the court, wearing a red jersey. Looking cool, radiant, and striking, I was undoubtedly the center of attention. With my handsome face and strong build, every inch of me radiated the unique charm of a sunny, vibrant young man. Staring at me, Tang Yuyuan felt his heart race and cheeks flush against his will. And as if I could feel his gaze, I stopped my warm-up and looked toward the crowd, scanning through the faces, until my eyes landed on Tang Yuyuan. He came to watch me play. If that's the case, then I definitely couldn't lose face. Just as I was about to raise my hand to greet Tang Yuyuan, Woo King-shu came bouncing over right in front of Tang Yuyuan, blocking his view of me. "So you came to watch me play basketball, huh?" Woo King-shu said smugly in front of Tang Yuyuan, lifting his arm to show off his muscles. Tang Yuyuan's gaze swept nonchalantly across Woo King-shu's biceps. They didn't look half as good as Zhang Che's. Tang Yuyuan tilted his head and looked past Woo King-shu and saw me waving at him. So he lifted his hand too and waved back. Returning the gesture, Woo King-shu followed Tang Yuyuan's gaze and turned to see me. Watching the way the two of us looked at each other, he almost exploded with rage. He was standing right between us after all. Couldn't we at least stop treating him like air? It couldn't have been more infuriating. There's always something even more infuriating. The girls gathered around the court. Many of them were swooning over me like lovesick fools. Wow, look at number 11, he's so handsome. He's seriously too good looking. I wonder if he has a girlfriend. Who cares if he has a girlfriend? Even if he does, I'll make sure she becomes his ex. Hearing those lovesick girl's words, Woo King-shu's mouth twitched speechlessly. What the hell good is being handsome if it can't feed you? If he could, he'd tear off my face and wear it over his own. Tangyurin looked left and right, pouting slightly, whether in his past life or this one. I was always that popular with girls. Especially now. I was practically so handsome it made people want to go home and have babies with me. As she gazed at my sunlit, radiant skin, Tangyurin felt a flicker of envy. This Jang Siechi is really stingy. Last time I asked how he takes care of his skin, he made me call him husband. I'm not calling him that no matter what. Woo King-shu noticed Tangyurin staring at me without blinking. Fury flared from his forehead. His fists clenched with audible cracks. I was certain I'd win this basketball match. Just you wait and see. After losing, Woo King-shu turned his head and glared at me with fierce hostility. He was determined to smash my annoying face with the ball. As the whistle blew, the match began. On the court, relying on my natural charm, I ignited thunderous cheers from the crowd. A roar like crashing waves erupted from the audience. Watching this, Tangyurin once again found herself distracted and flustered. Tangyurin! The girls beside her were practically squealing with infatuation. But what I didn't expect was Woo King-shu suddenly going off the rails. Just as I leapt up to dunk, he reached out and yanked on my jersey. Before I could land, I was pulled down hard and crashed to the ground with a thud. Woo King-shu looked at me curled up on the floor, clutching my leg and gritting my teeth through the pain, with a look of satisfied revenge on his face. Serves you right, that's what you get for crossing him. One of the girls who admired Jang Siechi suddenly screamed behind Woo King-shu. When Tangyurin saw me bleeding and injured, her mind went completely blank. Without a second thought, she rushed over to me. Are you alright? Tangyurin's eyes were red with worrying. I'm fine. I gritted my teeth and forced out a reply. Tangyurin looked at the blood on my knee. Her heart jumped right into her throat. The crease between her brows deepened. Even with my leg like this, I still said I was fine. Let me help you to the infirmary. Saying that, she slipped an arm around my waist and pulled me close against her. I hadn't expected getting injured would come with such perks. Guess my pain wasn't for nothing. This felt great, but I kept my excitement to myself. I couldn't let Tangyurin notice a thing. I needed to act just a bit more dramatically, so she'd worrying even more about me. Just as I was enjoying that thought, Woo King-shu blocked our path. Why are you being so nice to him? Is it just because he's handsome? You can't let that pretty face fool you. He's just a wolf in sheep's clothing. He's bad news, Woo King-shu cried out in anger and panic. You're the one who's bad. Tangyurin's chest heaved with rage. She stared directly at Woo King-shu. Woo King-shu, you've gone too far. You actually pulled Zhang Che's jersey. If his legs are fine. But if not, I swear I won't forgive you. Seeing Tangyurin bursting with fury for my sake, I couldn't help but snicker. I didn't expect this girl to have such a fierce side. The way she shouted at Woo King-shu, it looked like she might really launch herself at him the next second. The more I thought about it, the happier I felt inside. And she still says she doesn't like me. She's totally treating me like one of her own now. Move! Tangyurin snapped. She was genuinely furious. My leg was already hurt this badly, and she wasn't going to tolerate it anymore. My knee was still swollen and bleeding. Woo King-shu didn't even bother to apologize. Instead, he actually called me the bad one. Alright, don't be angry anymore. It's just a minor injury. It really doesn't matter. I tried to reassure her gently. Don't talk! Tangyurin also shouted at me. Jang Siechi, seriously, you're hurt and still talking. Don't you know you should be saving your energy? And yet I spoke up for Woo King-shu. Why are you treating Woo King-shu so well? Even in my past life, I never treated him like that. Could it be that in my heart, Woo King-shu matters more than he does? That thought alone made Tang Yuren resent Woo King-shu even more. She didn't even want to look at Woo King-shu anymore. When she saw me glancing his way, she wasn't just mad. She was also clearly jealous. Being angry, she could understand, but that jealousy came out of nowhere. Alright, I'll listen to you. I won't say a word. I deliberately leaned my head close to Tang Yuren, breathing in the faint fragrance coming from her. The more I smelled it, the better it got. The more I inhaled, the more addicted I became. Tang Yuren noticed how close I was getting. My face was practically brushing against hers. She thought I must be hurt so badly that I could barely hold myself upright without leaning on her. And yet I was still pretending to be strong. Was I really treating her like an outsider? Last night, I even called her baby. Clearly, I hadn't considered her as just someone else. So annoying Tang Yuren was so angry. She instinctively quickened her pace. My leg was still bleeding badly. I couldn't keep up and staggered. A low groan escaped from my lips. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Tang Yuren, who had sped ahead, turned back, and just by chance, bumped into me. At that moment, her face instantly turned red like a boiled shrimp, the kind that was still steaming. I had been leaning into her this whole time, brushing my face against her just to get a few more whiffs of her scent. I never expected such a blissful accident to happen. Once Tang Yuren came to her senses, her flustered gaze darted around. Don't worry, no one saw just now, I said as I touched my lips. Out of the corner of her eye, Tang Yuren caught that gesture, and it made her want to dig a hole and crawl into it. She was certain I had done it on purpose. It really made her furious. If it weren't for the fact that I was injured, she definitely would have dumped me right there. Inside the classroom, Jin Xiaoxiao was still staring at the review questions she had drawn up for Tang Yuren. She had marked all the key topics for her. What's going on? It's been 20 minutes already. Did she fall into the bathroom or something? Just as Jin Xiaoxiao was thinking that, a new notification popped up from the school forum. Jin Xiaoxiao was a total gossip addict. If there was any campus gossip, she absolutely had to know about it. But as soon as she opened her phone, she froze. Right there on the front page of the school forum was a photo of Tang Yuren helping me walk, a picture full of harmony. Wait, didn't Yuren just go to the restroom? Why is she with that pretty boy Zhang Xiechi again? What the heck is going on? After Tang Yuren helped me to the infirmary, she immediately pulled the doctor over. Doctor, please help him quickly. Hurry up, why are you being so slow? You're going to hurt him. The doctor looked up and gave Tang Yuren a very strange and complicated look. Watching how nervous she was, I tried to comfort her. It's really just a small injury. You're acting like I'm about to die or something. That word, die, hit Tang Yuren like a jolt. Back in our past life, when she got the news of my death, it was like her world had collapsed. She felt as if everything around her suddenly turned dark. She couldn't believe I had left her just like that. Later, she dropped everything she was doing and rushed to the hospital in a panic. When she saw the white cloth covering my face, she broke down right there. Tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. She couldn't accept that I was really gone. She knelt before the doctor begging them to save me. Even if it meant giving up her own life in exchange, she would have done it without hesitation. I kept my eyes fixed on Tang Yuren as I remembered it all. I watched as her sorrow deepened, her expression spiraling into utter despair. Her face was growing more and more distraught by the second. I couldn't help but wonder if I had just said something terribly wrong. I tried calling her name again, softly this time, Yuren. But Tang Yuren was still lost in the grief of having lost me in her past life. She didn't even hear me calling out to her. I frowned slightly, then reached out and took her hand gently. Yuren, what's wrong? I asked. The moment I touched her, Tang Yuren finally snapped back to reality. She looked at me live, warm, breathing, not the cold and lifeless corpse she had seen. Her emotions surged uncontrollably, and she threw herself into my arms. "Woo, Jongsiachi," she sobbed. "You big jerk. How could you say something about dying? You won't die, you'll never die." Tangyurin's tears fell like rain. In moments, they had soaked right through my shirt. I kept my expression steady. What did she just say? She said I wouldn't die, that I would never die. At that moment, a bold thought began to form in my mind. Could it be that she was reborn too? I lowered my head and looked at her sobbing uncontrollably in my arms. Her expression stirred a sense of deja vu in me. In my previous life, when I suddenly died of illness, my soul had left my body. And I saw with my own eyes how Tangyurin clung to my cold corpse and wept in agony, just like she was doing now. The more I thought about it, the more I felt that the idea forming in my heart might actually be true. But then again, something didn't add up. If she really had come back to life and carried memories from her past life, why would she forgive me so easily? I remembered it clearly. She swore she would cut all ties with me. She said if she could do it all over again, she would never fall for me. That despair, that determination, still burned vividly in my memory, as if it had just happened yesterday. But if she wasn't reborn, then why did she say something like that just now? And why was her reaction so intense? None of it made sense. Tangyurin was still clinging to me, crying her heart out. I let out a soft sigh, then raised my hand to gently pat her back, comforting her like one would a child. Yet, my attempt to soothe her didn't calm her down. It only made her cry harder, even more bitterly. Her sobs grew louder and louder. Jin Shaoxiao hadn't even reached the infirmary, and she could already hear Tangyurin crying. Yurin is crying. That bastard Zhang Xiechi must have bullied her. Jin Shaoxiao stormed into the infirmary, furious. She was just about to lash out at me, but then she saw Tangyurin clinging to me in tears. The moment she saw that, Jin Zhaoguio's anger vanished. She just stood there, stunned. And when Tangyurin heard the noise, she finally realized what was happening. She quickly pulled away from my arms. Oh no, why did she lose control like that just now? I must think she was acting totally weird. And worse, Jin Shaoxiao saw her throwing herself into my arms. So embarrassing. How could she possibly explain it? What was she supposed to say? Jin Shaoxiao stepped up beside Tangyurin, staring at her with a face full of confusion, then reached out and touched her forehead. "No fever," she muttered. Tangyurin just wanted to find a hole to crawl into. There was no mouse hole in sight, but she could at least escape the scene right away. With that thought, Tangyurin spun around and bolted. "Yurin, where are you going? Wait for me." Jin Shaoxiao chased after her out the door. After that, Tangyurin didn't reply to any of my messages. Maybe she still hadn't calmed down. It wasn't until after dinner that I finally got a message from her. The doctor said girls shouldn't touch water. When I saw her message, it felt like rain after a long drought. She still cared about me after all. I decided to tease her a little. "Why are you only messaging me now?" I wrote back. "I already showered. No wonder my leg hurts so much." The moment she read that, Tangyurin panicked. "How old are you?" she snapped. "Don't you have even this bit of common sense? You were hurt so badly. How could you still go and take a shower?" So I need someone to remind me of that. I was editing the message. After sending it, I leaned against the railing. "Yurin, would you be willing to be that person?" As soon as Tangyurin opened the voice message, her ears were immediately filled with sound. She snapped back, saying she didn't understand a word I just said. I wasn't foolish, I could tell. Tangyurin clearly didn't want to answer me directly. In situations like this, if the guy keeps pushing, then he's truly clueless. When a girl avoids giving a direct answer, there are only two possibilities. Either she likes you but is too shy to admit it, or she's still unsure about how she feels and doesn't know how to respond. Since that topic was going nowhere, I decided to change the subject. This next question had been on my mind all day. but I hadn't asked it out loud. What you said in the infirmary this afternoon, what did you mean by that? Hearing that, Tang Yuren's pupils suddenly widened. I had asked it after all. What should she do? How should she reply? Inside, Tang Yuren was torn. Uneasy and anxious, I stared at the unmoving phone screen. Raising a hand, I rubbed my chin. Carefully analyzing the situation, I had my suspicions during the day that Tang Yuren, just like me, might have been reborn. Even though the idea of both of us being reborn seemed far-fetched. But then again, why should I be the only one allowed to come back? Why couldn't Tang Yuren have returned too? It made no sense otherwise. The world doesn't revolve around me alone. Just as that thought passed through my mind, Tang Yuren finally sent a message back. You're overthinking it. It didn't mean anything. Tang Yuren clutched the fabric over her chest, biting her lower lip nervously. Calm down, don't panic. As long as she didn't admit she had been reborn, no one could claim she truly was. Was I really overthinking it? I furrowed my brow, replaying everything that had happened recently in my mind. On the very first day I came back, Tang Yuren called my name. Even then, I found it strange, but I didn't dare to be certain. After all, I had no solid evidence. Forget it, why dwell on it? Whether she was reborn or not, she was still Tang Yuren. That wouldn't change because of such things. I had already made up my mind. In this lifetime, I would take good care of her and make up for the mistakes and regrets of my past life. It's fine as long as you're okay. Seeing how heartbroken you were when you cried, I was worried you'd blame me. When Tang Yuren read that message, she clearly let out a breath of relief. But the one who had overthought everything turned out to be her. I had asked simply out of concern for her. I hadn't entertained any far-fetched or mystical nonsense. Is your leg doing any better? Tang Yuren thought about what I said earlier about taking a shower, and the irritation in her heart returned. Why don't you take better care of your body? Even if I'm not worried, don't you think others are? By others, she meant my parents, right? Yes, she was referring to my parents. It had nothing to do with her at all. Actually, I was lying to you. I didn't take a shower. Do you find it funny to mess with me? Tang Yuren got mad, just as she was about to toss the phone aside and stop replying to me altogether. I sent a new message. I like teasing you. Only you. In an instant, Tang Yuren's face flushed bright red. She pressed her lips together, trying to suppress her bashful smile. Her heart was pounding like crazy. I've noticed you've changed. You've become so slick with your words. I figured I needed to clarify. I'm not just being smooth. I'm sincerely saying sweet things only to you. Tang Yuren grabbed a pillow and buried her face in it. Her poor little heart was beating out of control, completely beyond her ability to calm it down. Then I sent another message. Are you free on Saturday? I want to go watch a movie. Watching a movie alone is just boring. I'd like to ask you to go with me. I'm asking her out to the movies. Tang Yuren's breathing turned erratic. If she agreed to go, would this count as a date? After everything that happened during the day, there was a profound shift in her heart. Before, she had always been trying to avoid me, trying to forget me, not wanting to repeat the same mistakes as in our past life. But when she saw me injured and bleeding, when she heard me mention death, her emotions instantly lost control. Turned out she still loved me that deeply. So deeply it had seeped into her bones, etched into the depths of her soul. She couldn't forget me. If I were truly willing to treat her well from now on, maybe she could try to love boldly once again. She wanted to surrender, but in our past life, she had been too deeply wounded by this man. Wanting to walk away from all of it was not something that could be done with just words. Since that's the case, then let it flow naturally. Are you asleep? I sent 2 messages in a row. She pulled herself out of her thoughts. I promised Xiaoxiao a favor on Saturday, and I patted my own forehead. I'd been so focused on asking her to watch a movie that I completely forgot the promise I made to my best friend about attending a group hangout. Suddenly, I remembered I also had plans on Saturday. Then how about Sunday? Are you free on Sunday? Sunday works, that's fine. Then I'll come to your place to pick you up. Don't come. I'll go by myself. She still didn't want our situation to be known by her family, especially her 3 older brothers. In our past life, her 3 brothers hated me the most. They thought I wasn't good enough for her, and they even laid hands on me multiple times. Always 3 against 1 with no sense of honor. Every time I got beaten to a pulp, even though that was our past life. And this is now. The memory of those fights still remained painfully vivid in her mind, so it was best to avoid them. It would be better if we didn't meet. Why won't you let me come pick you up? I was originally planning to remove the bike seat, so I could ride my bicycle to go pick her up. I'm afraid if my family sees you, they'll misunderstand. They might think we're in that kind of relationship. She said this with a hint of probing in her tone, trying to test how I felt about her now. I wasn't some clueless 18-year-old anymore. I could easily hear what she was really implying. I could have just played along and said that we were in that kind of relationship all along. But saying that now would ruin the big plan, because I had long decided that on Kixie Festival, I would give her an earth-shattering, unforgettable romantic surprise. So before then, I had to hold back. I'm not afraid of misunderstandings. I'll come pick you up then. When she saw this message, a look of disappointment appeared on her face. Just moments ago, she had been imagining me saying that we were already in that kind of relationship. Too bad I didn't say that you really shouldn't come. If my parents see you, it's still manageable. But if my 3 brothers see you, you might end up freezing outside. Reading that, my heart twinged a little, but thinking it through, I had indeed let her down terribly in our past life. Her brothers only laid hands on me out of anger. I'll still come pick you up this weekend. Just stay in contact with me. Sneak out when your family isn't paying attention. She thought about it and found the idea kind of thrilling. Alright then, Saturday evening it is. I got dragged by Lee Hao to a pre-arranged KTV meetup. But to my surprise, she actually came too. And at that moment, her face didn't look too good. She kept glancing over at me from time to time, watching me put on that cold, aloof act. She was angry. She had even been thinking of giving me another chance. Yet here I was, showing up to some mixer, and even pretending to be all aloof on purpose. She figured I must know that girls nowadays really liked cold, indifferent guys. So I must have been deliberately acting that way to catch their attention. A girl named Wang Zi looked at me. She asked if I had a girlfriend. When I heard that, Tang Yuan lifted his head halfway. But just as he looked up, he saw me glancing in his direction. That look stirred something deep in his heart. She asked if I had someone I liked. Why was I looking at him? That kind of look would definitely lead to misunderstandings. When I said the word have, my eyes were fixed intently on Tang Yuan. In his eyes, the way I looked at him was already an overly blatant confession. After blushing and feeling his heartbeat quicken for 2 seconds, Tang Yuan frowned slightly. Maybe he was overthinking it. But if he really was just imagining things, then who was the person I liked when I said I did? Who exactly was it that I liked? Just the thought that it might not be him made Tang Yuan feel a sharp ache in his chest. I took in his reaction and silently rejoiced in my heart. Things had already reached this point. There was no need for me to hide it any longer. So I stood up directly, walked around the table, and came to Wang Zhao's side. Wang Zi looked up at me in surprise, secretly delighted in his heart. Was he being noticed by the cool and aloof guy? Today was destined to be a lucky day in love for him. Since such a stunningly handsome guy had shown interest, he made up his mind. The moment I spoke, he would agree without hesitation. Just as Wang Zi resolved himself, I opened my mouth and said, "Sorry. Beautiful, could we switch seats?" When I said that, Wang Zhao's mind seemed to freeze. unable to process it for a moment. And not just Wang Zi. Everyone else in the private room was staring straight at me. Seeing Wang Zi remain silent for so long, I repeated what I had just said. After Wang Zi let out a couple of stunned sounds, he stood up, only to see me sit down next to Tang Yuren. Tang Yuren looked serious, staring at me sitting beside him as if in a dream. His lips slightly parted. "Why didn't you tell me the other night that you were coming to this gathering?" He had been wanting to ask you, even if it was just once. "Then why didn't you say anything?" Tang Yuren shot back. "Don't misunderstand me. I only came to the meetup to fill a spot. If you don't believe me, ask Pang." He said they were short one person and asked me to help out. After I finished, I turned to look at you. "Why are you still standing there like an idiot? Hurry up and help explain." "Yes, Tang Xiaohua. Don't get the wrong idea, my bro really didn't want to come. I had to threaten to jump off a building to make him help us out." At this point, Li Hao finally realized he had stuck his nose where it didn't belong. He'd gotten involved in something that wasn't his business. Originally, he asked me to come because he didn't want me hanging onto Tang Yuren like a dead tree branch. But in reality, the two of us had already started something in secret long ago. Jiangji really wasn't being a loyal brother at all, forcing me to pay for the drinks over an empty girl. So that's how it was. Tang Yuren looked at Li Hao, and he didn't seem to be lying. Come to think of it, he had been reborn after all. Back in our past life, when we first met in college, he recognized me right away. I was the boy from the neighborhood who saved him from the river as a child. Since then, he had always been secretly watching me from the shadows, trying to find out things about me. So he actually already knew whether I had a girlfriend or not. "Then what about you?" I turned the question back on Tang Yuren. "I came because Ziqiao asked me to. He was supposed to attend this meetup, but since the semester's ending soon, he wanted to stay in and study hard. So he sent me in his place." But just as Tang Yuren finished explaining, he saw me smile, and that instantly made him realize, why was he so anxious to explain everything? Wasn't that just exposing his own little secret? Now I knew. I leaned in close to Tang Yuren's face and nodded, with that faint smile still on my lips. I gazed at Tang Yuren until he got so shy he wanted to run away. Given the current situation, anyone with working eyes could see that Tang Yuren and I were clearly a couple. "Do you want something to drink?" I picked up a glass of juice and handed it to Tang Yu. Tang Yuren accepted it with a politeness that bordered on irritation. "Why are you being so polite with me? These are all things I should be doing." I spoke in a tone that made it sound like the most natural thing in the world. "You're really not treating yourself like an outsider at all." Tang Yuren muttered quietly under his breath. I deliberately leaned close to his ear and whispered just loud enough for the two of us to hear. "Then treat me like an outsider. You've always been an outsider. In the past life and this one too. But you won't be in the future." I was just getting to that part. My voice had dropped to low. Tang Yuren didn't quite catch what I said. I said drink the juice. I deliberately shifted the topic. Tang Yuren looked at me with a doubtful gaze. Even if he hadn't fully heard me earlier, he was sure that what I said had nothing to do with juice. Really? We're all adults here. Let's drink beer. He clearly just wanted to drink. But if the other girls didn't drink, he'd look to while drinking alone. So he poured a glass for Tang Yu as well. He can't drink. I'll drink for him. I reached out and picked up Tang Yu's glass. No way, really. We came here to this mixer to stop being single. And now you two are here showing off your affection. Have you no shame at all? Wang Zi teased in that tone of his. And everyone else joined in immediately. Exactly, showing off love just invites karma. Flashing love in July might feel good, but you'll be crying over a breakup tomorrow. Tang Yuren didn't have skin as thick as mine. When he heard all that, he immediately snatched his glass back from my hand. I don't need you to drink for me. I can do it myself. And with that, he downed a large gulp. He took a heavy drink straight from the glass. Watching Tang Yuren drink like that I figured he probably had some tolerance. But not even 5 minutes later, Tang Yuan started to feel the room's laughter turning into noise. A loud and jumbled mess. A constant buzzing in his ears. His vision blurred. His head spinning violently. Realizing that something was wrong, Tang Yuan, still stubbornly holding on, knew he'd gotten drunk. Of course, something that embarrassing. He'd never admit to anyone. I'm going to the bathroom, Tang Yuan muttered as he stood up unsteadily, swaying on his feet as he did. I could immediately tell something was wrong with him. Are you okay? I'm perfectly fine. Why wouldn't I be? Tang Yuan forced his eyes wide open, trying to act like nothing was happening. I wanted to go with him, but he refused flat out because he didn't want me to see him in that drunken state. It was just too humiliating. He needed to splash his face with cold water, fast. Just as Tang Yuan was thinking that, his legs suddenly gave out, and he fell toward the ground. Just as he was about to meet the floor head-on, a hand slipped around his waist, steadying him with a gentle hold. Tang Yuan's heart tightened with alarm. Afraid it might be some sleazy stranger, he lifted his head in a panic. But when he saw the familiar face before him, he finally exhaled in relief. Thank goodness it was me. I'm fine, let me go. Tang Yuan was still in my arms. The position felt almost too intimate. Luckily, in his drunken state, even with his flushed cheeks, no one would notice anything off. Looking at Tang Yuan's rosy face, I swallowed instinctively. In that moment, I truly wanted to kiss him. But not with Tang Yuan. He was my most genuine girl, doing something so presumptuous, would be disrespectful to him. You really don't look fine to me. Let me take you home first. I can go back by myself. Really? Then I won't interfere anymore. But if you end up like this and get targeted by some bad guy in the middle of the night, even if you scream your lungs out, no one might come. Hearing me say that, Tang Yuan couldn't help but feel a little afraid. Then could I trouble you to take me back? You're being way too polite with me. From now on, treat me as one of your own. If there's anything that needs to be done, just say the word. I didn't know what to make of my own words. Tang Yuan was finding it harder and harder to understand me. She couldn't tell which part of what I said was true, and which part was just teasing, let alone figure out how serious I was. I called a taxi using the ride-hailing app. The cab's lights were off inside. With the alcohol kicking in, Tang Yuan was already dozing off, and the dimness inside made it even harder for her to stay awake. Seeing her so uncomfortable, I reached over and gently cupped her head. With a mix of tenderness and dominance, I guided her head down onto my shoulder. Her pupils instantly widened. She felt the spot under my hand burn hot, tingling with a strange sensation. At first, she wanted to push me away, but leaning against my shoulder like this somehow made her feel at peace. She slowly closed her eyes, enjoying this fleeting moment of calm and warmth, thinking how wonderful it would be if this moment could last forever. But good times never last long. The car soon arrived at our destination. Just as Tang Yuan opened the door and stepped out, she saw me getting out as well. Why are you getting off too? From the entrance to your building. It's still a 5-minute walk. Since I brought you this far, I might as well make sure you get home safe. That's really not necessary. We're already inside the neighborhood. Just as she was about to say more, the taxi drove off. I spread my hands. The car's already gone. Seeing this, Tang Yuan thought to herself, given the situation, it would be pointless to refuse now, so she might as well let me be. But just after taking 2 steps, she suddenly seemed to remember something, and sharply turned to look at me. How do you know it takes 5 minutes from the gate to my building? I only said I live in this neighborhood. I never told you which building. So how did I know? She'd already suspected before that maybe I, like her, had been reborn. Was I really the same? Seeing how she looked at me, I didn't think along the lines of reincarnation like she did. I just figured she thought I was some kind of stalker who knew exactly where she lived. I quickly explained that I just made a random guess, though I knew even as I said it that the excuse sounded flimsy. Still, I didn't admit anything, and she couldn't really call me out on it. Just like I'd predicted, even though what I said was full of holes, she couldn't find anything concrete to refute me with. After a short while, we arrived at the base of her building just as she said goodbye and turned to head inside. I stepped forward and moved in close to her face. Actually, before I go, I wanted to say something. What is it? Her cheeks flushed bright red, and she started to stammer. If you've got something to say, just say it. Why are you getting so close? What's the little girl so nervous about? It's not like I'm confessing or anything. Good night. Tang Yuan paused for a moment. That's all. What else did you think I was going to say? I teased her on purpose. Flustered, she blurted out. Didn't think anything. You're lying. You totally thought something just now, didn't you? I didn't, really, I didn't. She took a step back. So I stepped forward. Until finally, I had her backed up against the corner of the wall. With nowhere left to run, I swallowed dryly and took a deep breath. I reached out and grabbed Tang Yuan by the shoulder. Drawing close to him all of a sudden, I asked what he was trying to do. Was he actually planning to kiss me? Tang Yuan widened her eyes as she stared at me, thinking how could that possibly be? There was no way I wanted to kiss him. I wouldn't do that, right? I was probably just teasing him. That's what Tang Yuan was thinking. But my face kept moving closer and closer to his. Still, we were about to kiss. No way. Was I really going to kiss him? Just then, a loud shout exploded in the air. Let go of my sister. That shout snuffed out every impulse inside me at once. That deep, booming voice, I didn't need to look to know. It had to be one of Tang Yuan's 3 older cousins. This is bad. My third brother is here. You have to go. Tang Yuan hadn't even finished his sentence before I had already dashed away. Together, just as Tang Fei was about to chase after me, he looked ahead, but I had already vanished without a trace. Do all thugs these days have such excellent physical conditioning? Tang Yuan came running over, gasping for breath. The 3 of them. Where's that guy? He ran. Tang Fei clenched his back teeth as he spoke. It's good that he ran. Tang Yuan let out a breath of relief. Xiaoyan, next time you're coming back this late, call me. I'll come pick you up. If I don't have time, our eldest or second brother will. Coming back alone at night is too dangerous. It's a good thing I had the idea to come check on you earlier. Otherwise, that thug might have really taken advantage of you. When Tang Yuan heard what Tang Fei said, her mind instantly flashed back to the scene downstairs just now. If Tang Fei hadn't shown up, would I really have kissed him? Seeing the dazed look on Tang Yuan's face, Tang Fei thought she was just too frightened to react properly. Don't worry about that guy. If he ever dares to lay a finger on you again, I'll beat him so bad even his grandmother won't recognize him, Tang Fei said as he clenched his massive fist. And when Tang Yuan saw that fist, as big as a soup pot, she was reminded of her past life. The memory of being pinned to the ground and pummeled made her feel a wave of unease. Third brother, did you get a good look at that guy's face just now? Tang Fei furrowed his brows. The lighting wasn't great earlier. I couldn't see clearly, otherwise I'd have called the police right away. It's good you didn't see clearly. Tang Yuan hadn't even finished letting out a breath when Tang Fei's voice rang out again. But don't worry. Even though I didn't catch a clear look at his face, I still remember the general shape and outline. If I see him again, I'll definitely teach him a lesson he won't forget. Now what do I do? Tang Yuan felt as anxious as an ant on a hot stove. After returning to her room, Tang Yuan immediately gave me a call. Did you make it back yet? I'm in the taxi. You don't have to worry about me. I run fast. Even if you were 3 pigeons instead of 1, you still wouldn't be able to catch me. Who's worried about you? Tangyurin casually grabbed a stuffed doll from the shelf, squeezing it out of shape one moment and flattening it the next. I asked my third brother just now. He said he didn't get a good look at your face. I quietly shook my head. This girl really is soft-hearted despite that stubborn mouth of hers. She clearly cares so much but refuses to admit it out loud. Still, that awkward little attitude of hers just happens to hit me right in the heart. I adore it completely. That's good. What do you mean good? You don't know what my third brother said. Even though he didn't see your face clearly, he remembers your emotional features and silhouette. He said if he runs into you again, he'll definitely recognize you. He's totally bluffing. Who can identify someone just by their shape and outline? If people could do that, why would we need police dogs? Sorry to disappoint you, but I learned language arts from the gym teacher. My metaphors are kind of a disaster. Tangyurin rolled her eyes so hard it almost echoed. Then continued, I was just thinking, should I explain things to my third brother? Tell him this was all just a misunderstanding? Absolutely not. Why not? Do you really think your third brother is a reasonable person? Since when has he ever chosen thinking over action? Anyone who looks at him the wrong way ends up asking for death. There were even a few times when he almost got arrested for beating people up. Tangyurin was shocked. How did I know so much about his third brother? And how did I even know so many details about his third brother's past? I heard nothing from the other end of the phone for a long time. Then I realized what I said earlier was completely inappropriate. Because how would you know that? Tangyurin bit her lower lip tightly, her chest rising and falling nervously as she fidgeted in place. Of course I know, because in my past life I was the victim. There are some things I really don't want to lie to you about. I still haven't figured out how to tell you everything, because I'm afraid that if I do, you'll get angry, and you'll never want to talk to me again. Hearing what I said, Tangyurin began to suspect even more that I really had been reborn, and that everything I was doing now was to make it up to him. But he didn't need anyone's charity or compensation. What he wanted was genuine kindness from me, not something born out of guilt. Tangyurin thought it over again. But something still didn't add up. Even if I really had been reborn, I shouldn't feel any guilt toward him. In our past life, we were only married in name. There was barely any interaction in daily life. Besides, he had never told me that he liked me at all. So why would I feel guilty toward him? But if not guilt, then why did I say all those things? And what about what I knew of his third brother? And all those many things from before? None of it makes sense. Why aren't you saying anything? I started getting anxious. Girls' minds are usually more complicated. I couldn't read her thoughts. I just worried Tangyurin might be overthinking it all. Yuyuan, are you mad at me? No, Tangyurin really wasn't mad. She just felt overwhelmed inside and needed time to calm down and sort things out. Right then, a knock came at the door. Xiaoyan, my earphones broke. Can I borrow yours for a bit? Third brother, don't say anything yet. Tangyurin quickly whispered that into her phone, then got out of bed to open the door. Tang F stared at Tangyurin with a puzzled look. He wasn't sure if it was just his imagination, but he kept feeling like his little sister was acting a bit strange. And the more he looked, the more his suspicious gaze fell on Tangyurin's phone. It's so late. Who are you talking to on the phone? Tangyurin's heart skipped a beat nervously. She clutched the front of her shirt and answered in a tight voice. Tang Effie. I kept staring at her phone with that puzzled look, as if he was trying to figure it out just by watching. Third brother, do you still need anything else? Tangyurin handed the earphones over to Tang Fei. No, that's all. Finish your call and go to bed early. After Tang Fei left, Tangyurin patted her chest and let out a breath of relief. Why are you so nervous? Easy for you to say, you're not the one being caught like this. If it were you and your family caught you in this situation, let's see how calm you'd be. If my family saw me, talking on the phone at night with such a beautiful girl. They just grin from ear to ear. I'm done talking to you. I'm going to bed early. Need to rest up. So I've got energy tomorrow night when we go see the movie together. Tang Yuren had completely forgotten about that plan because of everything that happened today. And everything had been so intense and chaotic that her nerves had been taut all day. She hadn't even remembered until now. I hadn't finished what I wanted to say. Back downstairs at your place earlier, I told you good night, but you never said it back to me. Don't you get bored? Saying the same thing every day is boring, isn't it? Well, I still want to hear you say good morning to me every day. You pervert! Yuren hung up the phone with a pout. At that moment, Tang Yuren held her face in both hands, her cheeks burning red and hot. Time quickly passed to the next night at 7 p.m. Right then, I was riding my bicycle toward Tang Yuren's neighborhood, but Tang Yuren messaged me telling me not to come. My parents are home. All 3 of my brothers are home too. I'm already on my way. Only 2.5 minutes left until I'm there. Are you sure you still want me to come over? So fast, Tang Yuren had already reached the doorway of her room. She opened the door just a crack. Peeking out, she glanced toward the hallway. Her 3rd and 2nd brothers were both inside their rooms. Her mother was in the kitchen washing dishes. Her father and eldest brother were in the living room. If she walked out just like that, she would definitely be spotted by them. I told her I was already at the entrance of her neighborhood. I urged her to come out. As I sent the message, Tang Yuren frowned slightly. She told me everyone was still in the living room. If she left now, they would definitely question her. I told her to just come up with some other excuse. She replied that she didn't want to lie to them. Then I told her to just tell them the truth. Either way, I said I'd be waiting at the entrance for her. Tang Yuren grew even more anxious. She complained that there were way too many mosquitoes in her neighborhood. They weren't just many, she added. They were huge. Their bellies were even longer than their legs. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Every single notification was from me. She messaged asking who told me to come. She had already said not to pick her up. Right after sending it, Tang Yuren quickly grabbed her bag and prepared to leave. Her 3rd brother asked where she was going. Tang Effie, I looked up at her. She gripped the strap of her bag tightly. Trying to sound calm, she said, I made plans with a friend to go out. She said Ziqiao had been stressed from studying lately, so they decided to go watch a movie together, just to relax a little. Then he told her to call him once they were done, and he'd come pick her up. She agreed and told him not to worry. She wouldn't go into any dark alleys, and that if anything dangerous happened, she would know what to do. She reminded him that she wasn't a child anymore, that she knew all the basic safety rules. Only after that round of questioning did Tang Yuren finally get to leave the house. As soon as she got downstairs, she immediately called Jin Ziqiao. Ziqiao asked what was going on. She said she needed a favor, in case her family called later. She wanted her to say they were together. Hearing that, Jin Ziqiao instantly sensed something was off. There was that familiar scent of gossip in the air. She said, you're my best friend. Of course I'll cover for you. But first, she added, tell me this. Who are you going out with tonight? Tang Yuren stared down at the tips of her shoes and mumbled softly, is it Zhang Xieqi? Tang Yuren didn't reply, which counted as silent admission. Ziqiao asked if Zhang Xieqi had fed her something strange or cast a spell on her. A bit handsome, what's good about him? She said she had even looked into him specifically. He played games all the time. He even got caught gaming during class. He played before sleeping too. And he didn't seem to have any real strengths. His family background was nothing special either. Tang Yuren said she didn't care about his background. It wasn't that she was being naive, but her mom always told her that for a future together, if there wasn't a decent financial foundation, life would be hard. She said she understood and thanked Ziqiao, saying she had her own thoughts. Ziqiao sighed and said fine, but don't end up sitting on his bike crying, she added. No sooner had she said that, Tang Yuren saw me riding up on my bicycle. Ziqiao was stunned I even managed to get inside the neighborhood. Wasn't I afraid her family might come downstairs and see me? She asked what I was doing coming in. I told her not to worry, I'd be fine. Even if I got caught, I was fast enough to run before they grabbed me. She scoffed and told me not to flatter myself, said I was being shameless. Tang Yunren rolled her eyes at me in exasperation. I told her I wasn't being shameless, just genuinely good looking. She gave me a look, as if to say, interpret that however you want. I told her to get on. After a slight nod, she glanced toward the back seat of my bike. It was gone. There was nowhere for her to sit. She asked where the back seat went. I told her it was broken and I wasn't lying. Last night when I was removing it, I might have used a bit too much force and ended up breaking it. She asked where she was supposed to sit now. I lowered my head and looked between my knees. At the small patch of space on the seat, I told her to sit here. Tang Yunren stared at the tiny space. If she sat there, she would have to press right up against me. The thought made her eyes drift away. Her face turned as red as a shrimp. She declared she'd rather call a ride herself. She would never get on. This is way too ambiguous of a move. If she sat there, wouldn't it only make Tang Yunren overthink even more? Her face was already flushed and her heart was racing. I already brought the bike over. Why are you still trying to get a ride? Hurry up and get on. Seeing how stubborn Tang Yunren was being, I started to regret my decision. Maybe I had been too impulsive. If I'd known this would happen, I wouldn't have removed the back seat. I'll take a cab. Tang Yunren still insisted. After saying that, she turned and headed toward the neighborhood gate. Watching her walking away, a sudden idea sparked in my mind. I turned and glanced toward the building. Then I shouted, "Get on the bike now. Your third brother is coming out." The moment she heard that, Tang Yunren acted on instinct more than thought. She quickly lifted her leg and got on. I wrapped my arms around her and pedaled hard. We flew out of the neighborhood like the wind. Several minutes passed. Tang Yunren still looked shaken. She turned to look back at the shrinking neighborhood. Did my third brother see us just now? He probably didn't. I was fast. You didn't lie to me, right? Tang Yunren snapped back and asked. Lied to you about what? Don't pretend you didn't guess my third brother didn't actually come down. Was it just someone I saw who looked like him? You're getting worse, you know that. Tang Yunren muttered in a slightly whiny voice. It takes about 30 minutes to bike from the neighborhood to the theater. The ride was long, but the conversation made it feel short. After getting off the bike, I grabbed Tang Yunren's hand and led her into the cinema. The whole way, she kept glancing at my hand. Wait here, I'll go get some popcorn and drinks. Tang Yunren kept her head down, not daring to look at me. Her face was burning. Her neck was burning. Even her ears were burning. Want an ice cream to cool off? I teased her with a grin. Zhang Xieqi, you're too much. Tang Yunren pouted, clearly flustered, and pulled her hand away. I'm going to the restroom. Watching her dash off, I figured I'd better ease up a little. If I pushed too far and scared her off, that would backfire badly. After running straight into the restroom, Tang Yunren stared at her reflection in the mirror. She looked like she'd just downed a bottle of wine. What is Zhang Xieqi even doing? Always teasing me like this. Does he really enjoy seeing me blush that much? It took her several minutes just to calm herself down. When she finally came out, she saw me waiting by the door holding an ice cream cone. Why did you only get one? I'm not eating. You haven't, I said, and she thought I didn't like sweets. But after a couple bites, she noticed I kept staring at the ice cream in her hand. You want some, don't you? I didn't at first, but now that I see you eating it, I kinda do. Then go buy another one. The movie's about to start. I'll manage, I said, I still fixed on the ice cream in her hand. Tang Yunren looked at me, puzzled. If you don't mind, you can have a bite. The moment she said that, my hand shot out. I grabbed her hand, and without hesitation, leaned in. Bit the ice cream while holding her hand. Tang Yunren's pupils dilated in shock. Thump thump. Her heart pounded wildly. Tang Yuren felt like her heart was about to burst from her chest. And to make matters worse, I had bitten the exact spot where she had just eaten. While she was still frozen in shock, the melting ice cream dripped onto her fingers. And what happened next completely melted her on the spot. I leaned down and gently licked the ice cream off her fingers. When I looked at Tang Yuren again, she looked exactly like a dumpling being steamed in a bamboo basket. Her face was red enough to smoke. People nearby turned to glance toward the theater entrance. It's starting soon. The movie's about to begin. Let's head in. Come on. Tang Yuren mumbled twice in reply. Then she followed behind me with the ice cream in her hand. Her eyes stared blankly ahead as she walked, and half an hour later, the movie finally reached its climax. The male and female leads suddenly shifted away from earlier lighthearted moments. They grew shy because the story was set in a university campus. They often slipped into secluded corners to flirt and tease each other in whispers. Watching them so intimately made Tang Yuren blush from ear to ear, especially when the leads leaned in toward each other. Her eyes widened in surprise every time. You really enjoy watching things like this. I had already seen this movie before we came, so I had no interest in it. Instead, I kept my eyes solely on Tang Yuren, taking in every subtle change in her expression. The more intense the scenes became, the more engrossed she seemed to be. Who says I like it? I definitely don't like watching things this provocative. Then let's leave. Tang Yuren looked at me with eyes full of grievance. I just thought the storyline had a lot of ups and downs. It was quite gripping, you know. I think so too. I deliberately drew out my words as I said it. How could Tang Yuren not realize I was teasing her? Just as she was about to retort, the young couple sitting in front of us suddenly started kissing. She'd only ever seen things like this through a screen before. Though she had seen couples on the street before, it had always been from a distance, and abiding by the principle of not staring at private matters. She would always quickly look away from such scenes. But now the couple in front of us was so close, and so uninhibited, that it turned her whole face burning red. Just then, I suddenly reached my hand toward her, feeling her forehead was burning hot. Was she sick? Of course Tang Yuren wasn't foolish. How could she not realize I was teasing her again? She raised her hand to push my hand away, and stood up. But in her panic, she accidentally tripped her left foot over her right, and fell straight onto me. The pain made my face flush red and turn purple. She really picked the worst possible landing spot, hitting me dead on without the slightest deviation. Are you okay? I didn't mean to. Tang Yuren began to worrying. How could I be okay? This is serious. If my most precious part gets broken because of you, then you'll go down in history as the ultimate culprit. Tang Yuren was anxious and flustered. Why was I still joking around at a time like this? Fine, go ahead and suffer then. Humph, I'm not talking to you anymore. Tang Yuren went back to her seat and sat down, her heart pounding with worrying. She secretly glanced in my direction and saw me adjusting my pants. The sight made her bolt from her seat in panic. After the movie ended, I rode my bicycle and took Tang Yuren all the way to the entrance of her neighborhood. You better not come inside. If my family sees you, it'll be hard to explain. Alright then, I'll stay here and watch you go in. Tang Yuren nodded, then turned and walked into the complex. After a few steps, she turned back and saw I was still standing there, holding my bike and watching her. Why hadn't I left when she already went inside? Tang Yuren walked a few more steps, then looked back again, and saw I was still standing there, seeing her off. Go on back! Tang Yuren shouted that to me. I nodded but kept standing there watching her. Tang Yuren felt a surge of emotion she couldn't quite explain. That emotion overflowed into a sense of happiness. Could she really have a happiness like this? Was this not some illusion like a flower in the mirror or the moon in water? Not just a fleeting dream. As she stood there uncertain and restless, I shouted to her, Yuren, go to sleep early. Good night, my voice echoed in her ears, so vivid and real that she truly believed this wasn't a dream. This was something happening in real life. Tang Yuren clutched her chest and walked backward step by step. She and I gazed at each other in silence until she was nearly out of sight. Only then did Tang Yuren finally begin to lower her gaze. Xiaoyan, what are you doing walking here? Third brother Tang Yuren today. The new inheritance doesn't really matter. As soon as he finished speaking, I heard Tang Fei's puzzled voice ring out beside me. That guy looks kind of familiar. Hearing that, Tang Yuren's heart tightened again. Don't tell me he actually recognized me. Could it be that my third brother really is better than a police dog? He really does look familiar. Tang Fei muttered again. Doesn't he look like that high school classmate of mine? The one who used to sit at the same desk with me. Tang Yuren froze for a second and then turned to look. It's like Tang Fei, but also kind of doesn't. He mumbled to himself. Tang Yuren let out a sigh of relief. Zhang Cheng was right after all. My third brother talking about reading people's behavior to recognize them. Turns out he was just bluffing me. It really was nonsense after all. Around 11 o'clock that night, I stepped out of the bathroom after a shower. Going 10 minutes without checking my phone, I'd feel like I was missing something important. So even when I go to the bathroom, I always take my phone with me. But taking a shower just doesn't allow that. Tang Yuren had messaged me. It was such a rare thing that I immediately opened our chat. What she sent was a 1-second voice message. She actually took the initiative to send me a voice message. I was really curious about what Tang Yuren had said. I tapped to play it and held it to my ear. Good night. The moment I heard it, my eyes flew wide open. I was utterly stunned. After a few seconds of silence, I typed a reply and sent it to Tang Yuren. You said good night to me, and I hadn't even brought it up first. She actually said it to me on her own. Tang Yuren had sent that message 8 minutes and 20 seconds ago. After sending it, she couldn't stop herself from feeling nervous and excited, and just kept waiting for my reply. But once my message finally came through, she grew even more anxious. Tang Yuren had already rehearsed her explanation. You were the one who called out goodnight to me at the neighborhood entrance earlier, so I was just returning the gesture, and felt like I should reply with the same. Yes, that's exactly it. She was just being polite, that was all. They say a man's words are full of lies, but I think when a woman lies to a man, she always gets him right where it counts, especially a beautiful woman. And if it's Tang Yuren lying to me, I'm more than willing to be fooled. Returning the gesture, you're really quite courteous. Then from now on, you'll have to send me a good morning too. Why? Because I send you one every morning. Tang Yuren took a beat before realizing she had just walked straight into my trap, but the words had already come out of her own mouth. So what else could she do? There was no turning back now. From then on, she'd have to obediently say good morning and good night every day. Go to bed early now. Girls who sleep early and wake early are always more beautiful in my eyes. As final exams at Jiangxing University approached, there was definitely some pressure building. It was a pity that my major wasn't the same as hers. Even our elective classes didn't match up. Otherwise, I could have helped her with the test topics. What do you mean by that? Are you saying I'm not good looking right now? Tang Yuren sent that message with a huff. I replied instantly, no, you're very beautiful. But didn't you just say, sleeping early and rising early makes you even more beautiful? So stay up late if you want. Pulling an all-nighter works too. Tang Yuren was briefly speechless, but after savoring my words carefully, a brilliant smile bloomed across her face. Pulling an all-nighter works too. Could it be that in my eyes, her looks were just that high? Hehe, Tang Yuren giggled with delight. The more she laughed, the louder her voice grew. Tang Fei, who lived next door, came over and knocked. Hey, what are you giggling about in there? I was watching short videos and saw something funny. Go to bed soon. We have to wake up early tomorrow. Okay, got it. Tang Yuren pouted and stared at my profile picture, then muttered to herself, it's all your fault. You made me lie again. After a few seconds, She looked at my picture again and said softly, "I've decided this lifetime, it's still going to be you. I just hope that this time, you won't disappoint me again." Okay, at that moment, I let out a huge sneeze. One sneeze, then another. Someone must be thinking about me. It had to be my little girl, my future wife, missing me right now. Smiling, I reached over to switch on the desk lamp, then pulled out pen and paper and began writing her a love letter.